All right. So we did the king oyster mushroom on cardboard, and as you can see, let me get where I can see what you can see. As you can see, this cardboard is heavily myceliated. There's mycelium running all through it, so it has myceliated well. And this is our starter. This is what we'll use to produce spawn to introduce into a growing media, or sometimes you can introduce this directly into a growing media, which I may do an experiment with. But that is the results of the king oyster mushroom running onto corrugated cardboard. Alright, also did some gray oyster mushrooms on egg carton, and this is all at the 1 week point. So they've been in here for 1 week, and there's some mycelial growth in there. I don't know how well that's going to show up, but there's some mycelial growth, but it hasn't taken over like the king oyster has. So we'll let that grow for a while longer and see what happens with that. Now, also did some that was gray oyster bits, and this is yellow oyster mushroom bits, and as you can see, the mycelium, it has grown through and is growing out of the I don't know how well you can see that, is growing through and growing out of the egg carton container, but it's still not myceliated enough to provide enough good media to start it in something else right now. I like it to be pretty thoroughly covered before I introduce it into something that we'll use for spawn. The maitake, this will be my final attempt at maitake. It isn't contaminated, but there's absolutely no sign of any mycelial growth, and there's just nothing coming out of these pieces. So the last one didn't take. I'm pretty convinced that this method will not work for maitake at this point, but I'll try other media for the maitake. That's corrugated cardboard, and maybe something else will work better. Okay, the oyster mushrooms on bags. So I took the bags that the mushrooms came in, and these also have some myceliation, actually, but it hasn't really enveloped the whole thing. There's just little bits of mycelium running through this, so this needs to go back in for a while. And again, this was I didn't write down what kind it was, but I think this was the yellow oyster mushroom on bags. And finally, alright, also did the yellow oyster mushroom onto egg carton fragments, and as you can see, this is heavily myceliated. This is pretty completely myceliated. There is mycelium everywhere in this, and this is ready to add some other media like sawdust or something else to make spawn, because you need a lot more mycelium than this to add to a growing media if you want to be sure that the mycelia outgrows any potential contaminants. So that's very successful. That's yellow oyster on egg carton.